Hey everybody, welcome to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com and here on my YouTube channel, and this is going to be a really fun video. So if you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me say in live streams and in lots and lots of my videos how I'm a big advocator and supporter of Sweetwater.com for buying gear. Sweetwater, I've been buying gear from them for probably 15 years, and the customer experience is awesome. The sales engineers there are awesome. It's a great place to buy all types of gear, from home studio gear to musical instruments, so on and so forth. A lot of you watching this already use Sweetwater based on my recommendation in the past, and I really do appreciate it. But I want to share something very cool with you. As I was talking to my sales engineer the other day when I was buying something from Sweetwater, was telling me about this giveaway that they're having next month at the end of November, right around Thanksgiving, and anybody can enter, and it's completely free to enter, and I want to share that with you. And basically, they're going to give up to $5,000 worth of anything on their website. It's called the Wishlist giveaway, or Wing Your Wish List. You'll see it on the screen here. The link is going to be in the description box below, and I want you to click on the link in the description box below to go out to Sweetwater to register for this contest. It's of no cost to you. Basically, you create yourself a wish list. You get to put up to $5,000 worth of gear and equipment in that wish list, and they're going to do some kind of a drawing, and they're going to grab a name, and you could win $5,000 worth of gear. So that's really, really cool. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, description or link in the description box below. But what I thought would be really fun is one question I get an awful lot from a lot of beginners, for people that want to start with their home studio. They want to create themselves a little home studio and they don't know where to start. They don't know what gear to buy. They always ask me for my recommendations. Or people who already have a small studio that maybe want to do some upgrades. They're not really sure where the best bang for their buck is. So what I thought I would do is create a series of videos. This will be the first video where we're going to spend up to $5,000 on a home studio, because this is a $5,000 giveaway. So we're going to maximize that amount of money. And then over the next few weeks, I'm going to do build a studio for less than $1,000, build a studio from $1,000 to under $2,000, $2,000 to $3,000. You get the idea. So by the end of this series of videos, there'll probably be 5 or 6 videos on my personal recommendations, that if you have a budget in mind and you want to start a home studio so you can start recording your own music, I'll give you a guideline on what equipment to buy and why I chose the equipment to try to help you along the way. But this is kind of one of the Mac Daddy of them all, the $5,000 studio. And we're going to do that today. I've already built a wish list. I'm going to take you through each piece of gear and tell you a little bit about why I recommend this specific gear. It's all gear that I use in my studio day to day, so I can vouch for the quality of the product and the quality of the service with the company themselves, as well as Sweetwater. So again, here is on the screen here, you can win your wish list up to $5,000. So we're going to do that. So you're going to click on the link in the description box. You're going to go out to Sweetwater.com, and there's 2 things you can get to this link, and you can go ahead and you can read all the different rules. And when you're ready, again, you have to have this in by November 24th, 2019. Okay, November 24th. This is right here, point number 2. Has to be in by November 24th, so make a note of that. Okay, so you're going to create an account on Sweetwater.com, or you're going to log into your existing account. If you don't have an account, have no worries. It's free to create an account. This doesn't cost you anything, okay? So once you've read some of the stuff about the contest, go ahead and say, I'm in, let's go. Click the button. It's going to bring you to the create your account screen. Again, if you don't have an account already, fill out the information, create yourself an account. If you already have an account like I do, you could come right up to the top here. We're going to log into my account, username and password. I've already have an account. And here we are. So here is on my page here, and we're just going to go to Sweetwater.com here. Here's the home page of Sweetwater. Okay, and we're going to start shopping. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put everything into a wish list, very similar to like what you do on Amazon. Okay, and I've already done that. So if I come over to my account up here at the top right-hand corner, I have a list under my list called the $5,000 Studio. You can create a new list, you can edit your lists, or you can just have a generic wish list, okay? So you know how to do that, okay? So we're going to come over to the $5,000 Studio, and we're going to talk about each one of these pieces. This is very, very cool. So I'm going to try to do this in an order, a sequential order that kind of makes sense. The first thing I want to talk to you about is a computer, okay? Because one thing that I get a lot of emails about, people have problems with their studio. They went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff. They plugged it into a computer that's 10 years old, and they're trying to do a lot of, high intensity audio processing with a ton of plugins and a ton of virtual instruments, and they can't understand why the computer crashes, or they're getting all kinds of latency problems or sound artifacts, crackles and pops in their audio. And a lot of that has to do with the computer. So I'm assuming again that this particular studio that we're going to build, that you don't have a computer already. If you have a computer that's up to snuff as far as specs go, and we'll talk about that in a second, then you could skip over the first item. But also, just so you know, the way this studio was built, it was, I picked these pieces for a couple of different pieces of criteria. First, that it's just going to be either a home studio or something that could also be pretty portable, pretty mobile if you needed to move it around from one location to the other. That it was going to be a studio where you would record no more than 2 instruments at a time, simultaneously maximum. And again, something that if you had absolutely nothing and you were starting from scratch, this is what we're going to do. So let's talk about the computer. So the first item on the list here is the Apple Mac Mini. Now, the Apple Mac Mini, I'm a Mac guy, I've been using Mac for years. I've used Mac Minis, I've used iMacs, I've used Mac Pros. I'm a Mac person. Doesn't mean you can't be a PC person. I'll show you an alternative in a second. But here is an Apple Mac Mini, and a lot of people don't realize that Sweetwater also sells Apple products. They certainly do, and they also support them. And you're gonna pay the same price on Sweetwater than you would pay at the Apple store. So you're not paying any more to buy it on Sweetwater. It's the same price no matter where you buy it. Here is a brand new Mac Mini, 3.0 gigahertz, 6-core i5 processor with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 SSD drive. You want to have a computer when you're doing audio recording that has the fastest processor that you can possibly get with the most amount of RAM that you can possibly get. And this brand new computer with a 6-core 3.0 gigahertz is going to be plenty for even your more intense recording sessions. You're not going to have a problem with CPU issues and not being able to do what you want to do as far as recording, especially if you're just recording guitars and vocals 2 tracks at a time, or even using a bunch of virtual instruments in your session, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now, the only thing about this particular computer I wish it had is 16 gigs of RAM, and I believe you can have that upgraded through Sweetwater when you call them. You can talk to them for an extra 100 or 150 bucks. You can up the RAM to 16 gigs, and I would recommend that if you can get it. But this is 1,100 bucks, so you can have a pretty powerhouse computer and a pretty small footprint, as you can see here. This is smaller than a laptop physically, so you can unplug this, throw it in your duffel bag, and you could take it on the road to a hotel room. Yes, you would need an additional screen, a monitor, a computer screen, or an iPad of some kind that you can hook up and use as a display, which is, you could do that with an iPad Pro today. But for the home studio or kind of semi-mobile, the Mac Mini is a wonderful, wonderful choice. And again, that's 1,100 bucks. So when you pick something that you like, the way you add it to your list is you just come down to where it says Add List, and you click on that, and you can put it in your list. I already put it in my studio, but you can create a new list and you can do it all right here, okay? So as you're picking out your pieces, make sure you add each one of them to our $5,000 wish list, okay? So we've already done that. So that's the Mac Mini. Now, if you're a PC person and you really don't want to go down the road of Mac, you're in the PC ecosystem, Sweetwater also custom builds PCs as well, and I'll show you that right now. So we can look at computers. Did I spell that right? Probably not, but it'll probably, let's see, nope, computers, let's get that right. P-U-T-E-R, okay. Okay, so we can go PC desktops, and there's all kinds of categories here. They sell tablets, they sell everything here. But let's go to the PC desktop. You can see over here, Sweetwater actually builds a computer called the Creation Station. So you can actually, they'll custom build one of your computers for you. So here's something similar to the Mac Mini. This is the Custom Computing CS100 Micro Desktop Workstation. Again, it's only $1,000, similar to the Mac Mini. And the specs are very much the same, and I'm sure you can upgrade the RAM here as well, and you'll have all the inputs and outputs that you need on your computer, same as on the Mac Mini, okay? So here's another alternative that'll come with a 3.4 gigahertz processor. Again, 8 gigs of RAM. This one has a 500 gigabyte hard drive in it, and again, you could probably talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer, and you could do some upgrades to that as well. Okay, so there's our computer. We have, out of our $5,000 studio, we have about $1,000 to $1,100 for a computer. Now, if you already have a computer, you don't really need that. You have an extra $1,000 of stuff you could throw into your wish list. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is something that a lot of people don't, they kind of skip over, they don't think about, they don't realize how important this really is until their computer dies or their hard drive dies, and that is an external hard drive. And so an external hard drive here is a 1 terabyte USB-C solid state drive. Okay, now depending on your computer connections, Sweetwater has a bunch of different SSD drives, different USB-C, USB 3, Thunderbolt drives, but I just picked USB-C because if you're using a Mac Mini, in our case, USB-C is the new connection of choice by Apple. Here's a 1 terabyte drive. Now I tell everybody, you should be running, if at all possible, your DAW sessions not on the internal drive in your computer, but on an external drive. Okay, it's gonna help the audio processing in your computer run more efficient that way. Okay, so if you have an SSD drive inside of your Mac Mini, you could run your sessions on that, and then when you're done with them, you can save them and move them to a backup drive. But so this is something that is super important. This is nice and portable, nice and small. You can throw it in your backpack just like the Mac Mini, and you want to have an external drive either that you use for backup on everything, and you can run everything off your internal hard drive, or better yet, you run your sessions off your drive separate from the operating system, and I recommend that all the time. So again, that's $200. Okay, we've already put that into our wish list, so let's go back to our $5,000 studio. So now we have our computer. We have a Mac Mini. We have an external drive. This will last you for many, 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 many years. Good investment. The heartbeat of your home studio or from making music is the computer. You can have all the greatest gear in the world plugged into a computer that does not have the specs to hold up to what you want to do, and it's not going to be a pleasant experience. Trust me, a lot of my students have this problem. Next thing we need is an audio interface. Okay, now there are many interfaces on the market, but because we have a $5,000 budget, we're going to pick, and I had picked the Universal Audio Apollo Twin MK2. Now I'm again a big fan of Universal Audio. I've been using Universal Audio products since about 2007. They're fantastic. I currently have a Universal Audio Apollo rack-mounted interface. This is their desktop interface, which is great. Again, for our mobile kind of a setup, you could throw this into your backpack as well. This is in the Apollo Twin, and this is the quad-core DSP chip inside. They make a Duo, and they make a quad core. The Duo is a little bit less money, around $300 less, but the Duo has limited amount of DSP processing, and when we get to mixing, and we'll talk about that in a bit, you wanna have as much DSP power as you possibly can. So I would say if we have a $5,000 budget, let's get a really good interface that we're not gonna outgrow in the next 12 months. So here's one for $1,200. Fantastic interface. Has two mic inputs, so you can record up to two mic line inputs. You could do like a guitar vocal thing, something like that. You can plug speakers if you have monitor speakers into the left, right outs. We also have some line outputs. Again, this is Thunderbolt USB-C that you use with your Mac Mini. This is fantastic. It not only has a headphone jack on there as well, so you can monitor that. And it's just a great piece of kit. Now, what's awesome about Universal Audio, and what I really love about them, which is really unique, and they're one of the first and one of the only ones that still do this, is from a recording point of view. They have what's called their Unison technology, and what Unison technology is, and it comes with all of the Universal Audio interfaces, it gives you the ability to record through their plugins on the way to the DAW. Okay, so you can think about it as recording through analog gear in plug-in format, and Universal Audio has some of the greatest analog plug-in emulations on the market. I have lots of Universal Audio videos on this YouTube channel. If you search the playlist Universal Audio, you'll see, and I use them in a lot of my mixing and training products as well. Fantastic stuff, where you can actually record your vocal through an SSL channel strip, right? Or an API channel strip, or a Neve channel strip, or a Universal Audio preamp, and you can get that nice analog warmth and vibe on the way into your DAW, and it's all done on the internal DSP chips inside of the Universal Audio unit here, the Apollo. So it does not tax or burden your computer CPU whatsoever, and that's the beauty of Universal Audio. This is a fantastic interface that'll last you forever. And you can see right here, you get free analog classic pro bundles, the $999 value worth of plugins. So anytime you buy one of the Universal Audio interfaces, they come with a core set of plugins. So you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of plugins right away. You have everything you need to record through the 1176s and the LA2A type compressors and these real sought after pieces of hardware in plug-in format, and you can record through them into your DAW. So here's the interface that I would recommend for our $5,000 studio, the Apollo Twin MK2. Fantastic unit, quad core, you can't go wrong, okay? So we added that to our wish list. Let's go back to our $5,000 studio. Next up, we're gonna talk about the DAW. Now, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I'm a Studio One user. Okay, love Studio One. This is the Studio One Professional version. They make the Prime version, which I believe is free, the Artist version, which is a little less expensive, and the Professional version. Now, what you get with the Professional version of Studio One that you do not get with the lower cost options is you get the mastering suite in the Professional version. So not only can you record and mix your music, but you can also master it. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel showing that. You also get the ability to use third-party plugins and not just stock plugins if you choose to do that down the road, okay? That's a huge, huge benefit. So the Professional version is the way to go. The Professional version has the most features in it, the most sound sets, the most virtual instruments, the most sound loop libraries, everything you could possibly need and then some are part of the Professional version. Studio One, that's what I would say. If you don't have a DAW, Studio One is the way to go. It's got the greatest, I feel, user community on Facebook and on YouTube for support and for help, and they have a great user forum community. It's a very easy DAW to learn. It's very good for beginners. It's very intuitive. There's a ton of training all over the internet. A great ecosystem, PreSonus, and I would highly recommend it. And I've used every DAW, Logic, Pro Tools, Cubase, all great DAWs. But if you're starting from scratch, PreSonus Studio One is the way to go. So again, $299. Get a $100 rebate instant right here, okay? So let's move on. There's our DAW. Now let's get a couple of microphones, okay? We need a couple of microphones that we can use, multi-purpose microphones that we can use for things like acoustic guitar vocals, electric guitar, if you're miking up a cabinet, maybe a piano. We want some all-purpose mics that we can use on just about everything, and I got some really good choices here. So the first thing, we need a large diaphragm condenser microphone, and I picked out the Shure KMS32. Again, $550. There's a lot of options in this price range from $300 to $500 that you can pick. I use this microphone all the time. I have one in my studio. I've had it for years. I've used it on acoustic guitar. I've used it on a grand piano. I've used it on female vocals. I've used it on male vocals. I've used it on overheads for a drum kit, although that's a little bit beyond what we're doing in this studio build. But I've used it on multiple things. It sounds fantastic. It's consistent. You can't go wrong with this microphone. I've been using this for years. So this is the KMS32 large diaphragm condenser microphone, $550. Okay, so that's the condenser mic I would recommend. Now let's head on over to the dynamic mic, something that every studio should have, and you should have multiple ones of these. I only put one into our shopping cart, but this is the good old SM57 by Shure. This thing is, this thing you can use it to hammer nails. It's built like a tank. Electric guitars, heavy male or female rock vocals, fantastic microphone to use. Snare drums, sounds great. Overheads, sounds great. It could be used on tom-toms, drum tom-toms, sounds great. The point is, every studio ought to have at least a couple of these lying around. I only put one into our cart for our $5,000 build here, but here, $99, you should have 2 or 3 of them in your studio, especially if you're gonna mic up a couple of different things at once. This is a great microphone to have. Everyone has an SM57, they've been around for years, okay? So that's our SM57. Let's go back to our $5,000 studio. So now we got our computer, we have our hard drives, we got an interface, we got recording software, we have our 2 microphones. So now we're gonna need some headphones. We're gonna need some headphones for recording and tracking, and then we're also gonna need some headphones possibly for mixing. So you'll see I have 2 sets of headphones here, and I'll explain. So the first set of headphones for tracking, when you're recording vocals, recording guitar, you want a set of closed back studio monitors. The reason why you want them as closed back is so, let's say you're recording a vocal and you're listening to the playback and you're singing along to the song. If they're open back, your vocal microphone is more, especially a large diaphragm condenser microphone, is gonna pick up any of the headphone bleed that they hear from the headphones, okay? Especially if you like the music kind of loud in your headphones and you like to rock out, you're gonna hear that in the microphone. So you want closed back closed back headphones for when you're tracking things like vocals. Same thing, you're tracking acoustic guitar, and let's say you have your microphone pointed at your acoustic guitar. If you have open back headphones, the music is going to come and get picked up by that microphone. These are great. The Sennheiser HD280s, I've had 15 pairs of these in my studio over the years. When I was a big tracking studio, I had tons of these things. Musicians throw them all over the place. They're not very gentle with these things, and these things always held up. I only think I've had them break one time, that someone was a little too rough with them, but these things always work. These are like a staple. For 99 bucks, you can't beat it. They're nice and, nice big padded ears. They sound great, perfect for tracking. Maybe not so much for mixing, but for live monitoring, you can't beat it, okay? So these are the Sennheiser HD280s, 99 bucks. Okay, let's go back to our list. The next item I have up is another set of headphones for when we get to mixing, okay? Because once you record all your music, if you want to mix your music, you have one of two choices. You can either A, get a pair of studio monitors, which we'll talk about, but again, this studio build was not only for the home studio, but also if you want it to be semi-mobile. Okay, you don't want to drag around a pair of speakers with you, right? So if we're going to mix on headphones, and you can mix on headphones and get great mixes, you need a really good set of studio reference monitor headphones, and this is where I would choose the Sennheiser HD650s. I have these headphones, they're fantastic. Now these are open back headphones, and you may say, well, why do you have open backs for when you mix, Dave, versus closed back for when you record? Well, you already heard the reason for when you record. But with open back headphones, when you're in mixing, you're going to get a lot better representation of the low end. It's going to be a lot more flat of a response. These headphones are just fantastic for that. They're very, very transparent, very, very flat. They don't add a lot of hype or a lot of color. I mix on these headphones all the time. You've seen me use these headphones. If you're a follower of mine and have picked up any of my training courses and you see me wearing headphones in my training courses for mixing, I wear these headphones. They sound great. They're fantastic. 400 bucks. They're a little expensive, but a great alternative to getting a set of studio monitors, which are much more expensive. For 400 bucks, you can't really get a good set of studio monitors that are going to be really great for mixing, but for 400 bucks, you can get an awesome pair of mixing headphones. Okay, so that's what I chose for our pseudo kind of semi-portable rig here. Okay, so that's it. The Sennheiser HD650s. Okay. What else do we have? Okay, so now we got some headphones. Well, another thing that would be great for when you do, not only for mixing, but this is great for tracking as well, is again, another great piece by PreSonus. I have one right on the desk in front of me off camera here. This is the PreSonus fader port. Now this is great for a couple of reasons. This is great for tracking if you are the musician as well as the engineer recording. And let's say, for example, again, you got a vocal station or a acoustic guitar set up a few feet away from your desk and you don't want to be in front of your desk while you're trying to record. You can use a USB cable that can run back to where you're recording. You have all the transport controls you need to do stop, start, fast forward, rewind, loop, record, right? So you don't have to worry about if you're trying to play guitar and hit the mouse and hit the record button in your DAW. This is great to have a hardware transport controls for start and for stop for when you're trying to record. You can also hook up an optional foot switch to this. So if you were a guitar player and you didn't have your hands free and you wanted to do it with your feet, you can get an optional $40 foot switch that'll let you control the transport control. So now you're completely hands-free while you're trying to record yourself as the musician. Fantastic piece for that. Also for mixing, this is great. This is like a channel strip in a box, a motorized fader. Anything that you can do with a mouse inside of Studio One on a specific channel, you can do with the hardware. And again, I have one right in front of me here. I use it every single day. Wonderful piece of kit for 219 bucks. Again, it's small. You can throw it in the backpack, take it to the hotel room if you're mixing on the go. Okay, so that's the PreSonus fader board production controller. And they also make much larger fader ports. They have a fader port 8 with 8 motorized faders, as well as a fader port 16 with 16 motorized faders. If you're looking just to do mixing and you want to use faders, the tactile feel as opposed to a mouse, you can do that as well. Obviously, it's going to cost more money, but again, this is more of a mobile rig. That's why I picked the single fader, but you can also check out on Sweetwater the other fader ports that PreSonus has. They're fantastic pieces of equipment and very reasonably priced. Okay, so we got our fader port. We're gonna need a MIDI controller. Okay, a small MIDI controller, again, small enough to throw into your backpack and take on the road if you're using virtual instruments for virtual keys or strings or something like that, or even if you wanted to make your own little drum beats, if you wanted to use your onboard drum VST Pro software in Studio One called Impact. This is a great, I use this, I have this same exact unit. I've used it many, many times. Again, it only has 25 keys. You can get much larger ones, but again, in the spirit of thinking, I just want to throw it on in my backpack. I'm on the go. Here's a really great MIDI controller for all your VST instrument and MIDI recording needs. So again, the Akai Professional MPK Mini MK2, okay? 120 bucks. I've had mine for years, it's great. Okay, let's scroll down here. We're gonna need some cables, right? A thing that most people overlook is good quality XLR cables. You need XLR cables that go from your microphones into your interface. If you have a set of studio monitors, as opposed to using headphones, you need good XLR cables that go from your interface to your monitors. This is a place where a lot of people cheap out and they buy $10 XLR cables. I highly recommend that you don't do that. And if you're building a $5,000 studio here, take some extra money, you have it in our budget, get some high quality studio XLR cables. I use Mogami Gold. I've been using them for years. My entire studio is outfitted with these. This happens to be a 25-foot one. These are 70 bucks each. Now, can you buy a 25-foot cable for $25, $30? Yes. They're going to be noisy if you step on them, especially if you're unplugging them and taking them on the go as a mobile unit. Over time, they're not going to have the durability. You're gonna have durability issues, and you're gonna have all kinds of noise and interference and possible audio artifacts in your recordings if you don't have good quality cables. So Mogami is the way to go. I think I put 2 of them in our cart here. So they're 70 bucks each, but again, you buy these, you'll have them forever. My entire studio is outfitted with Mogami Gold, and they're great. So here's 70 bucks for really good quality XLR cables, because we're gonna need at least a couple of those for recording with our microphones. I think I put a couple of those in our cart. Actually, I only put 1 in our cart. So let's say 3. I'm gonna put 3 in our cart, just because why not? We have $5 grand, right? Next thing we're gonna need is we're gonna need a microphone stand, right? We're gonna need some good quality microphone stands, okay? So we're gonna start, first we're gonna look at the stands. Now again, just like the cables, you could get a stand for $15. I use and highly recommend Triad-Orbit. Again, I have videos on my YouTube channel talking about Triad-Orbit products. These are the best modular microphone stands in the business, hands down. You buy the microphone stand once, it'll outlive you. My entire studio has been transformed from the cheap On Stage and some of these other brands where you can buy a microphone stand for $30, where they fall apart, the plastic pieces break, they're kind of wobbly, especially if you're someone who has expensive microphones. I know we picked a $500 microphone, but you may have more expensive microphones. I never understood anyone that would put a $2,000 vocal microphone on a $30 microphone stand. That doesn't make any sense. It topples over and you damage your microphone. Triad-Orbit, heavy duty, very small footprint. The legs can fold up into different angles. They have this quick release system here where you can put all kinds of accessories from microphone clips to iPad holders, tablet holders. Really, really great system. Search my playlist for Triad-Orbit on my YouTube channel and you'll see a whole series of Triad-Orbit products that I talk about. So we need a microphone stand for our home studio. This is heavy duty. We'll never have to buy another stand again. So that's why it's 192 bucks, but well worth it. Okay. Again, we got $5 grand to spend. Let's buy good quality stuff. That's what this is, good quality stuff. No cheap stuff on this list. Next thing we're gonna need is a Triad-Orbit Boom Arm, because the mic stand is just a straight stand. So if you want a boom arm, again, this will click into any Triad-Orbit system with the quick release system that I just spoke about. Again, this is great. I don't know how much this weighs, but I would say this probably weighs about 12 pounds. I mean, this thing is heavy duty. I mean, you can use this thing as a weapon if you needed to, right? 136 bucks. So between the stand and the boom arm, you're talking about what? $300 and something for a microphone stand with a boom arm. But like I said, you could put anything on here and it'll last forever. So that's what I would recommend. Let's go back to our $5,000 playlist or wish list here. Okay, next thing we're gonna need, again, some accessories you wanna think about. Here's a pop filter. Again, if you're a singer, you wanna have a pop filter in front of your microphones to get rid of all the plosives, right? You wanna have one of those again. I like this one by Gator. I have this one because it's a double layered. It's not a single thin piece of layer, it's a double layered. I don't know if the pictures can really show it, but it's got 2 layers of the fabric, and you can see how thick the outer ring is. So it really is effective. And again, $21, you really can't beat it. It's got a clamping system that clamps onto any microphone stand, including the Triad-Orbit. Really, 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 really good. Okay. And hopefully I've got all the accessories here. And again, there may be other things that you may need for your particular studio, but all this stuff will get you up and running. Okay, and I think that's the last item on the list. So if you look, we spent $4,844.63. So we still have another couple of $100 that we can throw into our $5,000 studio. If you wanted to pick up an extra SM57, again, I always suggest having a couple on hand, but that's another $99. You can do that. Again, you might want to maybe pick up a bigger hard drive if you feel like you need it. Although 1 terabyte is huge for audio, and that'll get you there. I mean, there may be some other small accessories you may find that you need. But here's a $5,000 studio right here. Everything you need to start recording music today, from the computer all the way down to the microphone cable. And all of this is very, very portable. You can very easily throw most of this stuff in a backpack or in the back seat of your car, and you can take it on the road with you, which was part of the criteria that I wanted to use. So whether you're in a small bedroom in your house, second room, or in your home or an apartment, or whether you're on the road a lot, this will really do. And again, for a couple of $100 extra, you could probably go over to Amazon and you could buy yourself a small computer screen to hook up to your Mac Mini. Although you can also do that with an iPad and an iPad Pro if you have one of those. So once again, click the link in the description box, go out to Sweetwater, create your account, and start your $5,000 shopping trip. Even if you don't need to outfit yourself with an entire studio, if you have $5,000 worth of studio gear or musical instruments that you would like to have free of charge, this is the way to do it. You can pick anything on your website. And again, Sweetwater, again, you know that this is not a sponsored video. They're not paying me to do this. This is something that I'm doing for my followers because you know, if you've been watching me for any length of time, I talk about Sweetwater all the time. You've seen on my channel, and you can search, where I've had a couple of bad customer experiences with other online retailers, and I've posted some videos about those. I won't get into all the details here, where, you know, where maybe I bought something I didn't buy from Sweetwater because maybe they didn't have it in stock at the time, or it was a brand they didn't carry, and I took a chance once or twice over the last 10 years and bought from somewhere else. And both times that I've done that, I really got screwed, and I posted some videos and talked about that. The one thing, there's a couple of things that I really love about Sweetwater. One is obviously their customer service is the best in the business. And I mean the best in the business. And I have some personal experience where you have a problem with a piece of equipment, something isn't exactly, and I mean exactly what you thought it was, or what it doesn't perform the way it was intended to. You call up Sweetwater, you get your sales engineer on the phone, and there is no questions asked. There's no, it's out of warranty. There's no, oh, it's past the 30-day expiration, even if there's only a 30-day return policy. They'll either fix the item in-house. They have a huge department of technicians that fix everything from guitars to studio gear. They have relationships with all the major manufacturers, obviously, and they can get things taken care of right away. So their service is the best. You have a problem, it will be taken care of. I can vouch for that because I've had some issues in the past, no fault of Sweetwater's, but maybe with the product itself. Sweetwater took care of it every single time. No fuss, no muss. That's the first thing, and that is worth its weight in gold. I can tell you from someone who deals with online and dealing in the music industry that customer service is a lost art form, man. It is rare these days that you find companies like Sweetwater that are really, really, really do care about their customers and take care of them. And that's why I am such, you know, an advocate of them, is because of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing, especially if you're new to some of this stuff, and you're not sure what to buy, you're not sure what microphone to get, you're not sure what interface to get, although I gave you some choices here, you're just unsure, you want to do something and you're not sure where to go. Their sales engineers at Sweetwater are amazing. If you've never purchased from Sweetwater, this is the way it works. You go on, you get when you call them up on the phone, you tell them I'm a new customer, I need some help with X, Y, and Z. They assign you a personal sales engineer, and that sales engineer is with you for life. As long as you're buying equipment, they're always going to be your sales engineer. So you have a personal sales engineer that works with you on whatever you need. And these guys go through an enormous amount of product training. They know everything. It almost blows my mind. I could call my sales engineer about anything, and his name is Aaron, and I'll leave his extension in the description box. If you need a sales engineer, go hang out and go talk to my guy Aaron. He's fantastic. But any of the sales engineers there go through an enormous amount of training. I can ask my sales engineer about anything, about audio gear, guitars, pickups, I mean, you name it. And these cats, they know their stuff. They go through an enormous amount of training to make sure that they just don't sell you something. They're not a company that just is transactional. They want to put you in the right equipment based on your needs and your budget. So for example, if you want to buy a vocal microphone, you're not sure what to buy. I'm not really sure what to buy. You call them up, they'll talk you through it, and they'll give you some recommendations. You get that vocal microphone, you try it out. It's not exactly what you want. You call them up, no problem, send it back, try this one. And they will make sure that they work with you to get you exactly what you want, performing the way you want in your studio. That's huge. So again, I know I sound like I'm a commercial for Sweetwater, and in this particular case I am, but it's not because Sweetwater sponsors me or anything like that. They don't. Believe me, I've spent so much money at this company, it's unbelievable, and I really do believe in them. And if you're one of my followers, this is nothing new to you. But if you're someone who has never watched one of my videos before, trust me when I tell you, go to Sweetwater, check them out, give them a try. Next time you have to buy a piece of gear, check it out. And like I said, enter the $5,000 giveaway. You don't have to buy anything to do that. Make sure it's in there by November 24th. Create your studio wish list for $5,000, and here's some recommendations. And if you have any questions at all, again, you can hit up Sweetwater. They'd be glad to help you, or you can always hit me up with a comment below this video, and I'd be glad to help you as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it fun. This is our $5,000 Sweetwater giveaway, and if you have to build a home studio and you have $5,000 to burn, this is what I would tell you to buy. But you don't need to spend $5,000. Enter the contest today. Use the links in the description box below to go out to Sweetwater to do so. That'll let them know that, hey, my followers are actually going ahead and checking out this video, and that's how they landed on the Sweetwater website. That helps me too. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, use the links in the description box below. I'll be great. And until the next video, I've been Dave with HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.